True rest is not a recovery from your life. It is a posture from within your life. When you are in alignment in your true identity, doing what flows from who you actually are, the doing feels like rest, even when it's hard, because our knowing, our true identity of knowing whose we are and who we are should inform our doing. Our being informs our doing, not our doing informing our being. Welcome to The Kindred Journey, the podcast for the spiritually curious, the wounded, the wandering, and the wildly awake, where nervous system healing meets spiritual transformation, and where your identity is something you receive, not something you earn. I'm your host, Lesley. You don't have to have it figured out to belong here. Now, take a deep breath. You're in the right place. Let's go. I want to tell you about a season that I have been in for a long time. I have been in my professional career for about 14 years now. And over that time, I have learned more than I can measure. I am genuinely grateful for every single bit. In the early years, I had the capacity. I had the time. I traveled, I expanded, I kept raising the bar. And for a while, it was even fun. But here's what happens when you keep raising the bar for yourself. At some point, you can't cross back over the threshold. You've pigeonholed yourself into a version of output that has become a new floor. And then life happens. I became a wife, then a mother, twice, 2 little boys. And if you're a boy mom, I don't have to say anymore. And this season of life is, let me just say, it's very full. I still have the same 24 hours in a day. But in reality, I don't. Because those 24 hours now look like this. In the wee hours of the morning and late at night after everybody is sleeping and nobody can bother me, I try and get my 8 hours of work done in 4 to 6 hours. I start the morning. I have lunches packed, animals fed. I need to get the laundry in the dryer before I leave the house so it doesn't get musty, because I don't want to have to run it again. I pick up the kids. I get them to practice. I make a wholesome meal. I carve out intentional time with my husband. And somewhere in there, I need to make time for myself because I can't give from an empty cup. And maybe all to get about 6 hours of sleep. And then to try and maybe sleep in on the weekends. And maybe, when I say maybe, and when I say sleeping in, I mean maybe 8, maybe 9. Some people, that is not a definition of sleeping in. So I can get ready to catch up and do it all over again before the weekend is over. And so right now, some of us, most of us, myself included, we're on this autopilot to this kind of lifestyle. I don't know if this feels familiar or if I'm just a crazy person, but this does not feel normal. This is what we've created to be normal. And lately my soul has been asking, how did we get here? 6 hours of rest is not sustainable. The scarcity mentality of how we are living is not sustainable. And I want to go deeper on this. Before we go any further, I got a phone call recently from a friend who told me their opinion about some of the things I've been posting on social media. And what they told me was that nobody wants to hear about my problems. We all have problems, Lesley. And trust me, I did not take this personally. But my point to this is that we have shifted into a culture of collective unrest. Look at the division in this country. Look at how fast and instant this world has become. If the Wi-Fi goes down, we collapse. We are a society of unrest. And most of us have never questioned it. I thought growing up and what I've believed rest to be for as long as I can remember is that you got rest after you have done enough. What I didn't know is that I had the whole thing backwards. I want to share a conversation that cracked this open for me. About a month ago, a dear friend and mentor reframed rest in a way that my soul was searching for, but I had never heard before. And she actually prayed over me for more rest. And I want to bring you into that conversation because I think a lot of us, the definition of rest is actually keeping us from rest. In the kingdom, we work from rest, not toward it. The Jewish day starts when you go to bed, and Sabbath is the first day of the week. It's not the reward at the end of it. Rest is the origin point. It's not the destination. My friend said something to me that I want to pass along to you. Rest is a posture we are always meant to maintain. Rest is our place of belonging. And it's not about refraining from doing. It's about how you go about doing something. Think about an apple tree. It loses its leaves in the fall. It winters, it's dormant, it gains their leaves back in the spring, and it produces fruit in the summer. All of it is rest because all of it flows from its true nature. It's not striving, it's not performing, it's not hustling. It is simply being what it is made to be. Brené Brown teaches a little bit about this, that rest is what you did as a child to play. So again, not refraining, but doing what is natural, what is true to your true self. You can accomplish a great deal in a day from a posture of rest. The difference is not the activity, it is the source of what you are doing something. Most of us have been taught a performance model of rest. You check the box, you take a nap, you schedule the vacation, and then you return to the same posture of striving, of hustling, of hypervigilance, the one that wore you out in the first place. True rest is not a recovery from your life. It is a posture from within your life. When you are in alignment in your true identity, doing what flows from who you actually are, the doing feels like rest, even when it's hard. Because our knowing, our true identity of knowing whose we are and who we are, should inform our doing. Our being informs our doing, not our doing informing our being. So it was around the same time that I was prayed over for this, was a moment where I was out in the backyard with my husband and my two boys, and our boys were bouncing around on the trampoline, and I just had my head gently on my husband's lap, and the sun was just I was just sun-kissed. It was warm and perfect temperature, and I could hear the boys laughing. And I got to that meditative state, that place of presence, and I was attuned to my senses, and I was aware of what was going on, but I was just so joy-filled. There was so much peace just kind of flowing over my body. I was present, and I wasn't performing. And that was rest. That 10 minutes, that's all I needed. Again, I wasn't doing anything, but it was the most restful 10 minutes probably of my entire week, because I wasn't performing either. Here's the connection that I want you to sit with, and something that is very much alive for me right now. Rest is becoming. When we strip away the performing, the proving, the constant output, the constant doing, What's left after all of that is taken away from you is the truest version of yourself. And that is where rest lives. The all or nothing pattern, the wanting to do Sabbath perfectly, the wanting to rest the right way, that is the false self. And we talked about that in a couple episodes prior to this one. Applying your false self's survival strategy to the rest, that's not going to work. Invitation for you to reframe, maybe starting with an afternoon, whatever feels safe for you, whatever feels comfortable. You don't want to go past a place of capacity for your nervous system, because that's when you collapse, and then that's, I guess you can call it failing, but that's when we collapse into it and then we don't do it again. So maybe pick a good afternoon where you don't have a lot going on, maybe a Friday afternoon, maybe after the kids get home from school, maybe you even take the afternoon off from your job, and invitation for you to put your phone in a drawer or a box somewhere away, maybe even on airplane mode or do not disturb. Invitation for you to take a nap. Invitation for you to be present with your kids, witnessing and watching them play, playing with them, being with them. That is Sabbath enough. It's not perfect. It's not checking a box. It's active rest. An invitation to reframe rest from a posture of doing, like I talked about earlier, was rest is doing. It's in your innermost being, and that's what informs your doing. There is productivity in rest, even though our culture tells us otherwise. So in this prayer that my friend guided me through, she asked me, what's the Lord telling you right now? And I was very in my intuitive brain. I was not in my logical brain. I was tapped in. I was tuned in. I knew this wasn't the logical brain trying to keep me safe, but God told me rest. And to rest not as a reward, but as a requirement. Because the work that He has called me to do can only come from a rested and rooted place. Hustle produces output, but rest produces fruit, and there is a big difference. Unbecoming is one of the words that I have been using for this year, and unbecoming is rest, and rest is unbecoming. They are the same return to who I am before the world told me to produce, to perform, to produce output. I want to share something with you that I haven't really talked about publicly yet. Yesterday, I put in a notice of absence for the month of May from my career. The performer in me, she cringed when I sent that email. Every part of an old identity of myself, the one who has gotten me so far in life, and I'm so grateful for her, the one who built around output and earning and proving and striving and performing, she wanted to take that email back. She wanted to unsend. I want to take a moment and speak directly to you. If you have been listening to this podcast for a while, you already know that this work is not about having the right answers or following the right steps. It's about coming home to your body, to yourself, to who you actually are underneath everything that you have been carrying. I have opened an intimate amount of one-to-one coaching spaces, 12 weeks of deeply personal, somatic healing work that's built entirely around you and your season. No curriculum, no predetermined path, just sacred co-created space where your body leads and I hold the way. This is for the woman who has done the mindset work and still feels that something is unresolved. The one who knows something is ready to move, but does not quite trust it yet. If this is landing somewhere in your body right now, I want you to pay attention to that. The link to book a connection call is in the show notes. This is just a conversation. No pressure, no script. It's just us feeling out together whether this is your next step. I would be so honored to walk alongside you. Let's get back to the show. But my soul has been begging me for this. And when you listen to this podcast, I will be about mid 3 weeks into my, call it what you want, call it a sabbatical, call it a Sabbath, a long Sabbath. And I'm not taking this time to create space for doing more things, catching up on housework, catching up on life. Thank you for meeting me here. If this episode met you somewhere real, the most generous thing that you can do is share it with one woman in your life who is wandering, curious, or quietly longing for more. She might not even know she's looking for this yet. And if you have a moment, leaving a 5-star review helps more women find their way to this space. And that is part of the healing too. I'll see you next Thursday.